Hello. Hello. All right. Yeah, I restarted the stream for a second there. So I wanted to change the title. Probably gonna change the font on the chat. I like change like the CSS on the chat in the style of the chat in the stream. Kind of looks weird though. All right, let me alert the let me send out a tweet here. Oh, what's up, Trinity? You changed your name, or is it a different account? Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me and/or see me? Well, I guess and see me, not and/or see me. Ideally, you can hear me and see me with no problems. Welcome to the stream. Once again, it's on a Monday. Wait, am I live? Yeah, I guess so. John is in his room, chilling. It's my first time watching one of your streams. Just started watching your videos and I love your stuff. Appreciate it. Yeah, I stream, or at least I try to stream every week. What am I talking about today? Well, as always, I just talk about whatever people ask about or want to talk about. It's kind of it's usually how it goes. My birthday is coming up. Me and my sister have the same birthday, which is pretty cool. Do mixed race black white people count as white black? Does that depend on skin color? Well, I think that, I mean, race is a pretty dubious concept. And really what I mean, you can sort of like choose what like culture you identify with, but I would say what determines your race is how people perceive you and how people treat you. So if people perceive you as black, then you're black. Like Barack Obama is half white and half black, but people perceive him as black, so he's black. Um, Now he also identifies as black, so that's part of it. But you know, there are people who identify as black but aren't perceived as black by the outside world, and I think that that is more relevant. But that's the reason why that's why race is like a dubious concept, because it's like it's just based so much on how you're perceived, which is honestly like, this is why I think that race is distinct from gender. A lot of people try to compare the two things because, you know, they're essentially both constructs, but I think the main difference is that race is dependent almost entirely on outside perception, while gender is based almost entirely on personal identity. But I also think that a lot of times when we say race, we really mean other things like nationality or ethnicity or cultural identity. Oh, tell dad I said hey. Well, I mean, you'd have to sort of ask him what he considers important to his identity. Uh, Electric Lamaine, thank you for the $5. Look T1J, you inspire me, my G. You inspire me to create. Thank you, brother. Thank. I appreciate it, Electric Lamaine. I need to fix this chat. It looks ugly. All right. Hold on. Super chat. The text is too small. Yeah, Trinity, you need to like contact me on in a private message somehow. Um yeah, you can text me or something, and I'll get you a shirt. I just need like a regular font. Maybe I should make the background black. How about that? How should I make this chat? Use bars instead of backgrounds. Um, all right, give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure this out. I've been playing around with just like because I realized that in OBS you can like change like the style of the elements. So I just wanted to make just spruce it up a little bit. Um, so I guess it doesn't need to be. Why don't I make it gray? I mean, there are definitely situations where people are mixed race, but they look white to people, so they're basically treated as if they're white, even if they um, identify as non-white. I'm just gonna make this white, I guess. That's still kind of ugly. It's like slightly better. All right. And there's definitely the idea that lighter skin is considered more attractive and more presentable, like pretty much like across the world. Like even among, you know, even among people of color, usually lighter skin. And I think it's because it's associated with just like higher class, because like, you know, poor people, lower class people are usually like, um, they usually have more uh, working class jobs, so they're associated with sort of being out working outside, and so they have darker skin and things like that. I probably need to change the font of the channel names too. I'll figure it out. I probably should have spent more time working on it before I started the stream, but we'll just leave it like that for now, and I'll figure it out by next time. So I know about ranked choice voting. Okay, instant runoff voting. Yeah, I know. I mean, I know I'm familiar with that, and I think it's definitely better than first past the post, obviously. But the problem is, it seems very unlikely that that's going to be implemented in America, at least. So it's kind of I like. Generally, I want to be practical. I want to talk about like realistic things. But I mean, I think it's definitely worth bringing up. Have I talked about the alt-right before? Not in any detail. I think I've probably mentioned it in some videos. I don't know. I try to with my videos. I try to talk about things that I feel like aren't being talked about or aren't being, or if I have like a different take on a subject. And I just feel like I have nothing to say about the alt-right that hasn't been said better a million times by other people. But if I come up with something that I feel like is a unique take, then I'll make that video. I'm also pretty careful about. I'm a little bit more. What's the word I'm thinking of? I don't know. I'm a little bit more hesitant to engage the alt-right and stuff like that because they like retribution, and I don't have time for that. You know, and it could be anything as simple as just flagging a video, but it could also get pretty crazy into like doxing and swatting and stuff like that. And you know, it sucks that, you know, that's the price to pay and it's like, you know, effectively censorship, but I just don't have time for that. I've got too many other things that I need to put energy towards to be dealing with stuff like that. So I'm more hesitant to tackle that. But if I thought of an interesting topic that I felt was worth talking about, then I would do it. Why do you think we care about what celebrities think? Because it's newsworthy or it's entertaining? Well, I mean, we sort of put celebrities on a pedestal. I mean, it's just kind of weird. I guess we just assume that famous people are just sort of like in a higher class of importance than non-famous people. So we just, you know, we pry into their private lives, and that goes along with it too. We care what they think, we care what they say, we care what their opinions are. How do you go about talking to people who are misinformed one-on-one? Thank you for the super chat, 199. Have you seen the new season of Dear White People? Nope. I haven't seen the old season either. The thing about talking to people, the decision to engage other people's ideas is a decision that a person has to personally make themselves, and you can't really force people to make that decision. So that they have to do that first. If they've done that, then, you know, the antidote to misinformation is information. So if you provide people with information, that's pretty much all you can do, and then it's up to them to take the next step. I think the problem is a lot of people argue on both sides. They sort of argue from emotion. They argue from like, I don't know. They basically argue from emotion rather than from facts or reason, and they just sort of like assume that you know that it's like common sense, and it's like you have to believe it, and if you don't believe it, you're just stupid, and I can't do anything about it. But or they could be misinformed themselves. Like there are some people who are right, who are basically right, but they don't know why they're right. They don't know the data behind it. So when they have to argue the point, they can't argue it because they don't they've never actually done the research. They just happen to be right. You know, they have the right intuition about the situation. So you have to make sure that you have your facts. And you know, I always say that that you know, knowledge is the remedy to ignorance. Um, do you think Kanye West is actually a perfect example of how black people can contribute to institutional racism? It's a rare scenario, but I think it blows a hole in the black people can't be racist. Well, I definitely don't agree that black people can't be racist, but I made a whole video about that. I think the thing when people say that, they're sort of just sort of obfuscating what they actually mean. It's a very imprecise statement. If it was explained properly, then it would actually be an interesting point. But yeah, obviously black people can contribute to racism in the same way that women can contribute to misogyny and sexism, in the same way that trans people can be transphobic. Like it's pretty, like, I feel like that's non-controversial. Well, yeah, I mean, the I think that contributing to racism is not necessarily the same thing as being racist. That's why the statement is just kind of a bad statement to use. But you can definitely contribute to institutional racism for sure. You feel like you've grown, changed a lot as a person in the last few years? I've definitely grown. I don't know if I've grown. I don't know if I've like changed drastically, but I've definitely evolved up as a person over the last few years. You can definitely, like, you can watch a lot of my older videos and you can see that I've evolved on many issues. I don't think I outright have changed like 180 on anything, but I've definitely evolved on many things. I remember a while back when Garrett was still making videos. He made a video response to me, but he responded to a video that I had made like a couple years before that. And it's kind of frustrating for me because I've like had evolved on a lot of those issues. But it was sort of still presented as if that was like the current way that I would express those views. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like response videos, because it's not possible to like fully grasp someone's view on something, especially if it's from an old video. Have I changed my mind about any strong opinions in particular lately? See, that's what I was saying. I don't think I've done like a complete 180 on anything. Definitely not recently. Um, I've changed my view on sort of my my thoughts about like moderating comments and stuff. But I think that's more of a personal thing. Like I used to be pretty strongly like, you know, I don't moderate comments, I don't block people, I don't mute people, I don't, you know, I don't delete comments, stuff like that. I used to be feels pretty strongly that I didn't do that, but I've definitely changed my mind on that. So I guess that's an opinion. That's an example. Um, because now I'm like, I if you're like being a dick in my comment section, I will 100% delete your comment. Um, and I still don't really block people on Twitter, at least, but I definitely mute people like all the time. I've come to the view that I don't really have to deal with that. And I think it's the only reason that I was more in favor of it before is because I wasn't getting that much abuse. But once I started getting more and more abuse, I realized that, wait, this, I can actually like make this not happen, or make this happen less. And why would I not do that? Well, thanks for checking it out, Sean. I hope you enjoy my channel. It's not as good as ContraPoint's channel, but I think it's okay. Thank you, Mr. Old Miguel. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having different opinions. And I think that some people will accuse me and other people of trying to silence people with different opinions, but it's really not that at all. It's really, I just don't want to deal with douchebags. And this applies to douchebags that agree with me as well. I've deleted comments from people that agree with me because they were being dicks to either to me or to other people. Like if you come in my comment section and you're a dick to other people in my defense, that's not okay either. You're gonna get deleted. I have considered making comments, like making all comments have to be approved before they are posted, but that's like too much work. The robocalls. Um I forgot, I lost my train of thought there. Um Labels as such as feminist or MRA get in the way of progress. The action of people and institutions belonging to movements creates baggage, stopping people from taking part in activism. Well, I don't know that that's true because neither feminists nor MRAs have had trouble finding people to support them. So it seems to disprove that. There are probably individual cases of people who avoid the movements because of the baggage, and that's just a personal choice that you have to make yourself. Is there any argument from the right that you agree? I don't know. People ask me this a lot, and it's a kind of too broad of a question, like, because I don't. It's hard to understand what you consider to be an argument from the right, and there's all different types. You know, the spectrum of what's considered right wing is so many different things, many of which, you know, kind of don't have a lot to do with each other. Like, I think conservatism is just like inherently ridiculous, but you know, I like the general idea of capitalism, which some people describe as a right-wing view. So I don't know, but some people say that that's not a right-wing view. I don't think that I. And then there's issues where I'm like, where I'm more nuanced. Um, than most leftists, I guess. But I don't think that I would consider that right wing view. I did see Black Panther. It was amazing. Couldn't believe that you made over 500 videos. Yeah. I think I've made about 500. I don't know if I've made over 500, but I definitely made over 400. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of videos. I mean, I've been making videos consistently for like 8 years now. A lot of people don't realize, like, I'm like old school. Am I Democratic Socialist? Uh, I don't like the labels. I don't really know the labels or what they mean, so it's hard for me to identify with the label. I've been told that my views are somewhere along the line of social democrat, but I don't know. Like, I'd rather not be asked about labels and asked about specific issues and specific problems, because I don't. It's just hard to know what like what, because I even think that different people have different ideas of what these labels even mean. Which news sources do you trust the most and least? I don't know. I think that most major news sources are fine. Um, I don't know. Fox News is generally pretty bad as far as major news sources go. Like, I don't think you should expect any news source to be like 100% perfect or 100% unbiased. Like, the whole point of like being informed is collecting a lot of information from a lot of different sources and then comparing them and like trying to, trying to extract the truth out of it. Like, if you're looking for like one amazing source, I think you're doing it wrong. What specifically is attractive about capitalism to you? Um, I like competitive markets. I like private property. I like, private control over the means of production, I guess. I like the idea of people who are smarter and work harder being rewarded more. Um, Stuff like that. But obviously, it can't capitalism doesn't work if it's not like regulated heavily. Like it literally, obviously, it doesn't work. And also, poverty is bad, and poverty doesn't shouldn't exist. So you wouldn't be able, like the market is unable to fix the problem of poverty. So we need like the government to do that, as well as other things. Like there are other things that markets can't solve. Like healthcare is a big one. Like obviously, healthcare shouldn't be like a for-profit market. I don't think I'm smart enough to just outright say which system is best for healthcare, but I'm willing to try anything other than what we have, and we'll go from there. Um, I haven't checked out Bad Mouse Productions yet. And this sort of always happens when people ask me about this, and they say like, "Oh yeah, those things aren't exclusive to capitalism, but they definitely seem to be. They definitely seem to be major characteristics of capitalism." Like, it seems that most anti-capitalists, they just sort of like everything that's good about capitalism isn't unique to capitalism, but everything that's bad about capitalism is unique to capitalism. And I don't know, to me that just seems very unlikely. That's just a very fishy argument. It just, seems very convenient. Do I play video games? I do. I haven't played the new God of War yet, actually. I don't think that corruption is I think corruption is pretty much inevitable. So uh I'm concerned with creating a system where the corruption can be contained and addressed when it happens. What do you think is the trajectory of the alt-right community? Will they die out? We always have to combat people like them. Well, the problem is that the alt-right have very strong allies in the Republican Party, and the Republican Party is very good at seizing power. So if they don't last forever, it's likely that we're going to be dealing with them for a long time. Well, I'm sure that there are a lot of people that will talk to you for hours about how you can have a society without a state. But, you know, I don't know about that. Yeah, I own guitars, but I'm not very good at playing the guitar. Um, I don't really like keep up with music anymore. There's this thing that I think happens to a lot of people when they get to a certain age where they just become very lazy about music, and you just sort of listen to whatever is suggested to you or whatever you happen across. Unless you're just like specifically like a music enthusiast. And I just sort of listen to whatever, and I listen to old stuff that I grew up listening to. Is there a feasible way to get rid of the two-party system? Um, Change the voting structure, basically. I think that, you know, CGP Grey made like a great series of videos about voting, which I'm sure like most of you have probably seen. But he basically explained why our voting system is bad and why we have a two-party system. When you have basically a winner takes all voting system, it inevitably results in a two-party system, because when you only have one vote and the person who gets the most votes wins, you know, bar none, then people will always vote strategically. They're always going to vote for the person that's most likely to win. And that's always going to narrow the playing field down to the two most people most likely to win. How will we go about that? I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. Is there anyone who likes the two-party system? Well, the two parties do. Which is probably why we will never get rid of it. The the video I'm talking about, the CGP Grey, it's like a series of videos. CGP Grey is amazing, by the way. If you guys don't know who that is, a YouTuber. He does like explainer videos, I guess you would call them, but um, but I'm not sure what they're called. I want to say there's like 3 or 4 different videos in the series, and he also did a couple videos about the Electoral College and why it's garbage. But maybe if you just Google like CGP Grey voting, it'll come up. I think what could be interesting is if an independent person or a person from not one of the major parties was able to win a major election. if not the presidency itself, which I think has happened before, but maybe if it happened more often. But the problem is, that wouldn't get rid of the two-party system. It would either be an anomaly, or that other party would then become one of the two parties. You see his current one about curing death, a really disease, and I haven't seen that one. Actually, I've missed like a few of his more recent videos of over the past year. I need to catch up. Yeah, I haven't. I have to watch those videos. I wonder if there's a way to make the colors of the names different colors like they are on Twitch. I think that would make it look cooler. I just thought about that. Yeah, it doesn't seem like we're very close to curing death. I think that's something that humans will achieve, though, at some point. But we've done a very good job. Although I've heard that life expectancy has actually dropped. Why don't I stream on Twitch? I do stream on Twitch, but I do rarely. I sort of like, you can do IRL streams on Twitch now, but I'm mostly associated with video games, and I don't really have a great system for streaming video games. And I'm in the process of buying a new computer. I was supposed to have already bought it, but I had some things come up. But I should be buying a new computer soon, and once I do that, I'll probably be streaming video games on Twitch more often. The problem is, if you stream on Twitch and you become a Twitch partner, you then have to agree to exclusively stream on Twitch, which could be a problem for me because I still want to stream on YouTube. But I think if you're not streaming video games on any other platform, then it's okay. Would I ever have a conversation with a conservative? Yeah, I've had plenty of conversations with conservatives. I don't really like personifying things that aren't really sapient. Yeah, I know what you mean. Have I played Frostpunk? No. You think immigrants that come from more conservative countries would vote for Republicans? Um, well, some of them would. I think a lot of Asian immigrants are conservative and vote Republican, if I'm not mistaken. But I feel like there's not that many. Well, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it there's many reasons why they might vote Republican. You know, for example, a lot of immigrants are Christian, so you know, Republicans are really big on the Christianity, so that could be appealing. And a lot of immigrants are involved, like they come from they come to America and start businesses, and their families are involved in like small business and stuff. And Republicans definitely like signal to that crowd. So you know, I could think of a lot of reasons why they might vote conservative. Because I think a lot of immigrants, especially from certain places, they sort of believe the American dream hype, and they sort of believe in the sort of, you know, if you work hard, all your dreams will come true type stuff. And you know, that's 100% what the Republicans preach. Yeah, a lot of Christians are minorities. Christianity, um, definitely in the black community, Christianity is like super, super deep, almost to their detriment, in my opinion. Well, yeah, that's one of the interesting dichotomies of Black Americans, is because most Black Americans, I would say, are on the left, but most are probably also Christians. So, how positively or negatively do you think religion affects the world? Uh, well, I think religion is bad, and there are good aspects of religion, but I don't think there is anything good about religion that is unique to religion. But there are many bad things about religion and religious faith and stuff that I think are unique to it. So because of that, I would overall say that it's more negative than it is positive. And if you're talking about history, then I don't think it's like debatable that religion has had more of a negative effect. Like if you just talk about what's happened throughout the history of humanity. It seems that you can back up almost anything in the Bible. I feel like what the idea of, I saw a video recently about how the Republican Party sort of shifted in the transition from George H.W. Bush to Ronald Reagan. And conservatism is, and republicanism is just like, it's just like sort of become this like monster. Like I feel like it used to be about like, you know, low taxes and family values and stuff like that. Um, but now it's like, now it's like, you know, anti-progress pretty much. Very strong like anti-immigration, very strong anti-LGBT. Like it didn't used to be like that really. If we replay human history, is there an alternate universe where there's no place for religion, faith? Yeah, I don't really see the benefit of faith. I think faith is useless if not harmful, but probably harmful. I actually think a lot of black people tend to lean more right on certain social issues because of religion. Well, I mean, definitely on certain issues. Like, I think there's a big problem with LGBT issues in the black community. Like, I know a lot of people who are like really, really hardcore pro Black Lives Matter, pro racial issues, but still are homophobic and transphobic and stuff like that. What do you think about Kanye's recent crazy comments? Do you think he's just trying to be controversial because of the new album, or is he just insane? Um, I think it's probably a combination of many things. I think obviously part of it is just to get attention, but I think he's probably, I think he probably genuinely thinks um, that he is saying something interesting. The thing that I think is happening is he's fallen into this trap where, and I see it all the time, where people think that, you know, sort of just being controversial and being contrarian and, you know, just asking questions, quote unquote, that they think that that makes them useful or deep, or that that's impressive, or that's what we should be doing, you know, playing devil's advocate just for the sake of doing it, like that type of stuff. Like a lot of people do that because they think that that's what skepticism is, but I think that's sort of a fundamental misunderstanding of what skepticism means. Well, Kanye himself has talked about having mental illness. But I don't think that he would probably agree that his comments were because of his mental issues. But I don't know. It there's a level where I'm not that comfortable trying to diagnose people with like actual clinical issues, but I think it's possible that this kind of behavior can be related to psychological issues. Irrationality is definitely not equal to insanity, but mental illness can definitely make you cause you to behave irrationally. Like that's definitely a thing. I also think that when people say he's insane or he's crazy, a lot of times I don't think that they mean that literally. And that you can have a conversation about whether it's useful to use those words in that context, but I don't really feel like having that one right now. But I don't, I think he's just a strange person who doesn't know that much stuff yet wants to talk a lot about that stuff, and it results in him saying like a bunch of dumb things. Will Jaden Smith grow up to be like Kanye? Who knows? Maybe. Jaden Smith is pretty weird. I also think that when you get to a point where you just sort of have no accountability and you're just like completely rich and you have like literally nothing to worry about in your life, that you just get bored, and that's when you just start experimenting with like just kind of random ideas that just give you something to do in your life. It's just interesting with Kanye because Kanye is the guy that said George Bush doesn't care about black people. And if he could identify that about George Bush, it's really weird that he can't identify about Donald Trump. Like this is definitely like a different person than the old Kanye. Like, and I literally think it's just sort of almost like reactionary. He's just responding to the fact that Trump is so hated by people. So he thinks that it's deep to consider the idea that, hey, maybe Trump's not that bad. Just like the mere fact that it is a contrarian position is what makes it interesting to him. Or at least that's my speculation. That's my theory. I doubt he was paid by Trump. And I just say that because I mean, I've sort of been that person before who just kind of wanted to play devil's advocate just because it seemed, it seemed skeptical, and it seemed like, well, I'm just asking questions. And I see that all the time, and that just kind of seems like what's happening. I'm sure that's not the entirety of it, but and I know so many people like that. But it's like I said, I think that's just a fundamental misunderstanding of what skepticism is. Skepticism is not question everything. That's not what that means. I hate that quote. People say question everything. Like, question everything is something that a conspiracy theorist says. It's not something that a skeptic says. Yeah, I mean, I could never hope to really just 100% pin down what's going on with Kanye West, but I just have my little theories. I don't buy that he's doing it for money or to sell his record, because I feel like he has to know that he doesn't need to do that because he's Kanye West. Like, he doesn't need to drum up fake controversy for attention. Like, you're literally Kanye West. I kind of wonder what like his family thinks about it. Like, what does Kim think about this? You go more of the fundamentals of being a skeptic. Well, I think because people sort of, skeptic is the root word of skeptical, so I think that's why people have attached it to this question everything thing, like be skeptical of everything. But the first thing about being a skeptic is acknowledging like the facts of the world, and like acknowledging what is like clearly demonstrated by the available evidence. I think that's where a lot of people slip up. Like, um, like for example, if there's a lot of people who call themselves skeptics that think that systematic institutionalized racism isn't a thing, but that belief is contrary to the available evidence and observation and data. Like, it's very very easily disproved by data, but they think that just the fact that that they're skeptical of a claim makes them a skeptic. But they're not being a skeptic because they're like literally ignoring demonstrable facts. But beyond that, the part that you know that sort of more fits the name is when you do put things under higher scrutiny, when they don't, when the evidence doesn't seem to support it, or when the evidence is missing. And also, part of being a skeptic is being ready and willing to change your mind when you're presented with that evidence. I think a lot of people fail at that too. And when we talk about like evidence and data and stuff, that because of the way the world is, a lot of times you can't 100% know the truth, but you can make an educated guess, and you can have an idea, and you can debate it with other people. Like, two people who have come to different conclusions can both be honestly, you know, can both be honestly debating their sides. Like, that's possible. Like, two honest people can come to different conclusions. That's possible. But there are some things that's just like, you're just like actually wrong, you know? or at least your view is not supported by evidence. Like, a lot of times when I say something or someone is trying to argue something, it's like, literally just show me the evidence and I will concede, or, you know, we can go from there. But, you know, I'll show you like with the gun debate, like, to me, there's no evidence-based arguments in favor or in opposition to gun control. Like, I just have never seen it before. So I'm just like, I'm asking people, give me your evidence. Like, you can't just say, I like guns, and that's your argument. Like, that's not an argument, you know? So I want to see the evidence. Like, I think, to me, that's what being a skeptic is about. And I've had, like, my views, if not changed, evolved when I've gotten new evidence. You know, that happens. And I think that's what it's all about. But I think that's one of the dangerous parts of sort of this new conservative movement, is like, they don't value facts at all. But they've somehow managed to convince people that it's okay. Like, they've managed to convince people that their opinions are just as valid as the facts, if not more valid. And that's really dangerous. The podcast You Are Not So Smart. I haven't heard of it. Like, a very easy example is climate change is a really easy example. Literally all available evidence points to the fact that climate change is a thing and that it's human caused. Like, all the evidence literally suggests that. But people have been told that their hunch that it's not true is just as valid, you know? Or the idea that, like, vaccines cause autism and stuff. There's, like, no evidence at all that that's true. But people have been convinced that their hunch, or something that, you know, some dude on Fox News said, is just as valid as all of the data and research. Yeah. I've read a lot about cognitive biases and stuff. Like, our brains are actually really bad at certain things. How do we address the rising anti-intellectual sentiment these people are using as their argument against facts? See, I don't know. And that's my problem. I, like, honestly don't know. I don't know what to say to someone that does not value facts. And this is sort of a rude awakening that I've found, like, the more I've been sort of involved in the political conversation on the internet. Because, like I was saying before, I don't know how many of you were here, but I think a lot of people are generally right, but they don't know why they're right. So like they have the right opinion. Like they'll say something like, black people are an oppressed class or something, which is right, but they don't know how to argue that. They don't know the data that proves that. They don't know the studies, things like that. And so my initial thought was, well, I'm gonna make sure I know what I'm talking about, and I'm gonna provide this data. And if I make a claim, I'm gonna give a source if if it's relevant or if it's applicable, or if someone asks or whatever. And so that was sort of my goal. But then I realized that people, once they've decided to believe something, they are going to continue to believe it regardless of what evidence you cite. And it gets like really crazy. Like it gets sad. Like I've had people literally say, I refuse to read your source. Like that's literally happened to me. I've had people look. I'll share a study or something, or some data, and people will say that data is wrong, or they'll say, oh, that's just political propaganda because it says something I disagree with. Like people just have no actual interest in evidence, and that was a rude awakening because I didn't know that before, or I didn't know that it was this prevalent. And so that kind of like fucked me up a little bit. So that's why I was like, I don't really know what to do about that. The only thing I can hope to do is just try to make good arguments, and the people that are ready to open themselves to arguments, those people can come holler at me. But I don't know. Other than that, I don't know. And this happens, I think that the right is generally worse about this than the left. So I don't want to like I I use this happens on both sides for sure. Like the left often uses like misleading data and stuff like that, but I think the right is much worse about it in my experience. And I think that the right is just like literally incorrect more of the time. Like just factually incorrect. And it's hard to at least on the internet, and it's hard to like argue with that. Like with the sort of like with the Jordan Peterson, I don't know if he's right wing. I don't think he likes being called right wing, but I don't know. Anyway, but with the Jordan Peterson C16 thing, like that was just literally, he was just like factually incorrect about that, like off the top. But people still to this day cite C16 as like compelled speech or whatever. And it's like, what do I do with that? I mean, that's like easily provably, demonstrably, factually incorrect. But people still believe it. So what do what do we do about that? What do we do with that? I don't know. I don't know what to do about that. Yeah, I mean, see, it's not really about like, you don't have to like line by line check the source. I think more efficiently is just collecting news and data from multiple sources. And as you do that, you'll see things start to line up. You'll see like sources cited, and then every now and then you'll see something stick out, and it's like, okay, well this line right here is only on this website, So I wonder if they made that up, or if that's just something that they threw in. That's their opinion, and then you know, it's just sort of comparing things. Like I don't think you have to literally go line by line and like fact check every sentence, but once you like compile a lot of news, you kind of sort of just can put it together and sort of decide or figure out which parts are objective and which parts are more subjective, if not just like actually false. I think people often kind of know that they're wrong, but need some sort of social permission to know it's okay to change their mind. Yeah, how do we give them that social permission? That's the part I don't know how to do. And I think a lot of it too is probably in the way that we engage people. And I've talked about being patient with people, and I've talked about like tone. Like I've said, I'm a proponent of tone policing. The problem is it's hard to like. I don't. Some people are just dicks about it, and I just feel like you don't have to engage with someone who's being a douchebag, and like you don't. I don't think you're required to be patient with someone who's being a douchebag. And also, a lot of these beliefs that people have are just like actively offensive and actively harmful. And again, I don't think you're required to tolerate that. But I do think that there's something to be said about the tone in which we engage a lot of these people. Yeah, a lot of people are dunking on Jordan Peterson lately, which I'm into. Have I seen Gwen video about Shu? I have not seen that. Oh Shu. That person is I don't even know what to say. He's interesting. He's a very frustrating person. Like I can tell that she's like probably just a perfectly decent person, but I don't know what she's doing. A lot of the time you never get social permission. My parents yelled at me that I was heading down the path of Satan. I did see Contra's video on Peterson. I feel like ContraPoints is like single-handedly like elevating the fucking just like the intelligence of the conversation. Like I would have never like if I read the script to ContraPoint's video, I would probably like without knowing that who it was, I would probably be like, no one is gonna watch this. This is like way too verbose and way too academic. But that's why she's really good at what she does. What's up, Steven? How long have I been streaming? All right, I'm gonna stream about 30 more minutes, y'all. Yeah, I actually don't watch that many, or I sort of stopped watching politics videos for a while. I pretty much only watch ContraPoints and H Bomber Guy basically, and that's mainly just because they're funny. Um, but I've been recently getting more into it again. But I had to take a break from it because it was just like these topics were just like bumming me out, and so I had to just I watch a lot of like gaming content, and I also like Liza Koshy. Shit, I know who Liza Koshy is. I don't know. It depends on what you're into. She's like a more like YouTuber. She's like from the Vine generation, basically. But she's huge. She's got like 11 million subscribers. So, uh, but yeah, I like someone recommended I think last stream someone recommended Three Arrows to me, which is another YouTube channel, and it's like really good. Like I think Three Arrows is probably gonna be like a big deal. But it's like, you know, it's one of those things where I have to sort of psych myself up to sit down and watch it. Like I can sort of just put on an H Bomber Guy video and just be happy. But a lot of these other ones, it's like, okay, let's watch a video about Holocaust denial. Let's go. More water. Yeah, Sean's been killing it for a while. But it's similar with him too. Like I sort of have to psych myself up to watch his videos, but they're good. Like I would say like right now the big three in terms of like left political YouTube is ContraPoints, H Bomber Guy, and Sean. Like they're just killing the game right now. Yeah, I haven't has if Tom Avella like uploaded more frequently, like he'd probably be a big deal too. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if that's the pronoun. If I'm not mistaken, Tom uses they at the moment. Yeah, Three Arrows, like he got like 20,000 subscribers like in a month or some shit. Like it's pretty crazy. So I watched Ash Hardell. Is that what you talking about? Yeah, Ash is pretty cool. I don't know. It's like I feel like it's not generally my cup of tea, but there are a few like I like her as a personality. Lindsay Ellis is amazing for sure. She's not really a political YouTuber though, but she's clearly, you know, like a progressive. But yeah, like I posted on Twitter recently. I think the left is sort of having like a renaissance right now on YouTube, which I think is long overdue because we had to deal with all of these fucking shitlords for like 5 years, and it just seems like a lot of them. I mean, some of them are still doing okay, but a lot of them are just it seems like their hype is fading. Let me look at Tom's Twitter. Well, it says they, them, or whatever you want. So I don't know what to do with that. It says, truth be told, I'm sort of indifferent to the whole pronouns gender thing altogether. Like, saying he is what comes most naturally to me, just because I was introduced to Tom as he. But I mean, I feel like I should get used to they if that's what he prefers. I don't know though. What are my thoughts on Blair White? Well, I haven't watched Blair White in a long time, but when I was sort of up to date with her, she was maybe in my top 3 least favorite YouTubers. She's just like a bad person. But I haven't watched in a while, so it's possible that she's improved. The left has gotten a lot better at arguing its points instead of assuming everyone's on the same page. I agree 100%. Yeah, I have to I still haven't analyzed the survey results yet. I need to do that. Yeah, I've honestly been trying to avoid using the term liberal. I just think that it just means so much different things in different places. I just try to say leftist or progressive if I'm talking about a progressive, but I don't think that all leftists are progressives. Electro Main, thank you for coming to the stream as always. I shall be leaving soon myself in about 20 minutes. Who are my top 3 least favorites? I don't know. I've like most of the people that like I used to try to keep up with this sort of anti-feminist space just so I can know what was going on and just understand what's happening. But most of the ones that were just obnoxious, I just stopped watching, so I just like don't care anymore. But like I like Blair White was really bad. I think Sargon of Akkad is like possibly like actively malevolent. I'm not sure. That seems like it seems unlikely because I don't think that people are just like evil, but he definitely seems to like find joy in other people's misery, or at least certain people's misery. Yeah. And then there's people that aren't really political based but are still pretty bad. Like Leafy's really bad. Does Leafy still even make videos? I don't even know. Yeah, exactly. YouTube used to be like milk toast liberal before it swung conservative. Yeah, exactly. Because I remember like when I first came on YouTube, pretty much every big YouTuber or every notable YouTuber was vaguely leftist. Like they were all feminists, they were all pro LGBT and all that stuff. And then Gamergate happened and basically like fucked up the world. And it's hard to say, you know, because there are people on YouTube that are like actual Nazis, and so like technically they're worse than someone like Sargon of Akkad, but I think it's easier for me to not take that seriously because it's so obviously it's so obviously abhorrent. But people like Sargon and those other people, they're like almost more sinister because they pretend to be they pretend to be concerned, and they pretend to be leftist, or they pretend to be rational, but they're still like dog whistling for those hateful ideas, and they're still just like mean, like awful people. But yeah, I don't know. Like I stopped watching a lot of that stuff, so I really don't know. I really am not even in a position to talk about it anymore because I haven't watched it in a long time. It's just not that interesting. What I hate the most are folks who say they used to be leftists on Reddit or social media, then you check their post history and it's obviously that they never were. Yeah, I think I think that a lot of these people don't understand, or they have like a weird idea of what constitutes being a leftist, or they might be like center with like one tick to the left, and because of that they're like, well, I'm a leftist. It's like, well, I don't know, are you though? But then there's people that are just like, they pretty much only espouse right-wing ideas, but somehow they consider themselves leftist, or they say they used to be. And another one that I see a lot is, hey, well, I supported Bernie Sanders, so obviously I'm a leftist, but I just can't get down with all this new feminism or whatever. I don't know. It appears that there are a lot of right leaning people that supported Bernie Sanders, which is interesting, or at least a lot of like anti-progressive people that were supporters, or at least that claimed to be supporters of Bernie Sanders. Maybe because he was a man. I don't know. I mean, there are people, you know, like they did an interview with JonTron, and he was talking about how he mostly had like progressive views, but then, you know, a couple months later, he's over here talking about ethno states and shit. So, you know, and then, you know, like someone, like what's that lady's name, Candace Owens, like apparently she was on the left, but then she like changed overnight or something because she got dogpiled by some feminists or something. I don't know the whole story, but it's something like that. But I mean, like, and I can kind of like see a lot of this stuff though, because I've said this many times, but I was on the path of like not becoming like a right wing, but I was on the path of becoming like a shitlord because, you know, certain aspects of online progressive activism can be very obnoxious. But you have to step back and look at the bigger picture, and A, just see what all is going on, and B, like understand how much of a problem something really is. And I think that's what the right and people like that the biggest exaggeration is they exaggerate how big a problem like left activism is. Was more anti-establishment. I've heard like so many people use Bernie Sanders as sort of like a crutch, or like they're like, well, I supported Bernie Sanders, but now I'm like anti-feminist, anti-globalist, fucking anti-immigration. It's like, okay, dude. What do you think about black people who deny racism as a problem? How do you think they come to believe that? Um, well, I don't know. There's a lot of different things. I think it's often black people who are successful. So they believe that they were able to succeed. So they don't believe that other people don't have um, the same opportunity to succeed that they did. And that's definitely a part of it. Um, Also, so a lot of it is just being reactionary and contrarian. Like black people aren't immune to those urges, you know. Um, like I get annoyed by progressives all the time. I think progressive activists are often like often exaggerate and often are overly combative and you know fuck up statistics and stuff all the time. And for some people, if they see that convinces them and sort of puts them on a path towards what they eventually settle on as views like that, like, well, racism isn't real. And like I said, I was like almost on that path. I don't know if I would have ever said racism isn't a problem, but I was on the path to being like one of those guys. And it's really just up to you to sort of take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Yeah, I mean that's probably part of it too, Scott. Like no one wants to see themselves as a victim, and but and I think that's why like we have to think of better ways to engage people and talk about these issues, because I feel like I understand a lot of these things, but it's hard to explain the it's hard to explain these things in a way for other people to understand them. Like, because sometimes it's counterintuitive. Because it's like, like I'm a black dude, but I don't think of myself as a victim, like ever. Like I never make any excuses for my shortcomings, even if there are like I've had like for example I've been denied jobs because I was black. Like 100% that's happened to me. Um, but I still don't think of myself as a victim, and I don't make excuses. And I believe that I can achieve my goals. But at the same time, I acknowledge the facts of systematic uh, racism and systematic oppression of black people. Like it's just a fact. And I think those two ideas may seem contradictory to people, and it may be hard to explain that to people. So I think maybe for some people, if you're talking about systematic racism, they automatically think that you're calling them a victim. And that's not what we mean precisely. And I think that sort of failure, failure of communicating the idea that applies to a lot of issues that progressives are concerned with. No, we were just talking about someone asked why some black people may not believe that racism is as big an issue as people think. So that's just sort of like one of the ideas was that no one wants to be perceived as a victim. Right. American culture is fucking obsessed with the individual. It makes it very hard to look at things from a systemic perspective, for sure. All right, I'm gonna stream for like 10 more minutes. Uh, I actually gotta pee, but I'm just gonna wait until until I'm done. Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and use the bathroom. I'll be right back. I don't think I can hold it for 10 minutes. Hey, I'm back. But yeah. So hopefully by next time I'll have the chat looking a little bit better. I have not seen Infinity War yet. I should see it soon. Sometime, maybe later this week. Do. But I need to watch it, because I'm definitely on the verge of having it spoiled. And there's like a bunch of memes about it that I don't get yet. um but yeah, we'll start. I haven't read a novel in a long time. Well, actually, the last novel that I read is uh the second Harry Potter book, and it's fine. Usually, if I read a book, it's a nonfiction book, and I haven't even read one of those in a while. I need to. I like go through spurts where I read and then I just kind of stop. But I need to read more. Like, I definitely don't read as much as I should. I read a lot of stuff on the internet, but I need to read more books. I can sort of like feel myself getting dumber because I don't read as much as I used to. But I should. I never really read that much fiction. It just was never my thing. I would probably like it, so I don't know why, but maybe one day I'll get more into it. But yeah, thanks for everyone coming to my stream. As always, if you don't know, I stream every week, usually on Sunday, but sometimes on Monday. If you would like to support me, my channel, or this stream, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 a month goes a very long way. Yeah, the whole Ayn Rand stuff. That stuff is it's a bit much. I've seen a bunch of posts saying Glover's anti-black women. Well, I don't know. I don't think that has Donald Glover has he ever said that? Has he ever said that he doesn't like black women? Like most of I think people cite some jokes from his stand-up special, but I don't know, man. They're jokes. Like I understand being responsible with jokes, but I definitely don't think that you should use jokes to try to determine someone's like actual position on something. But if he has actually made a quote, if he's actually said something like in an interview or something, then that's another thing. But I don't know about it. Live stream Sundays, live stream Mondays now. No, the goal is to do them on Sunday. That's like actually a more convenient day for me to do them. But Sometimes I just don't get to do it on Sunday, so I'll do it on Monday. But yeah, I'm gonna get ready to go, guys. Please follow me on Twitter if you have Twitter. I post relatively frequently on there. Feel free to email me if you want to ask me more questions or say hi. I think all those links are in the description. Would I ever consider having guests on my Sunday streams? Maybe. It would have to be someone that I like knew or was aware of. I don't just have like random people on because I don't know how they're gonna act. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and go, guys. Feel free to stay in the chat and talk if you want. Make friends. But I'm pretty hungry actually. I'm gonna go eat some tuna or something. Anyway, bye.